Alright. Hi, my name is Eric, and my topic is on the issue of affirmative action. My main claim is that race and gender should not be criteria in hiring and college admission decisions in the United States. My supporting claims are that 1, it promotes reverse discrimination. 2, it can lower the performance of universities. And 3, that there are other ways to help minorities without discrimination. My first secondary claim is that it promotes reverse discrimination, which is the discrimination of a member of a majority group as opposed to regular discrimination, which is against a person of a minority group. Now, affirmative action was meant to balance the racial inequalities in the United States, but in some cases, in remedying one inequality, it creates another one. One example of this are racial quota systems put in place in universities. In one case, in the case Bagbridge's Regent of the University of California shows an extreme use of the usage of racial quotas. In the case, according to an article on Cornell University Law School's website, in 1997, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that UC Davis was not allowed to have a separate special admissions program. They had the university had 2 separate admissions programs, one for a regular admissions program and one for minority students. Now, the way that UC Davis reviewed potential applicants was to have them rated by 5 committee members and give them a score from 1 to 100. Now, Alan Back, a person who had applied twice to UC Davis and had significant high scores, was not admitted. The reason for this is that the university had in place quota systems where 16 out of 100 places were reserved specifically for people who applied through the special admissions programs. Now, when he applied to UC Davis, there were still positions in this special admissions program available, but none left under the other spots. So if he had applied, or if he would have been eligible to be submitted under the special admissions program, then he would have been admitted to the university. Another form of reverse discrimination is when more value is given to a person based solely on race or gender. In December 2000, in the case of Gratz versus Bollinger, the issue of assigning values based on race was addressed. According to, again, Cornell University Law School's website, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that the University of Michigan must change its admission policies, but was still allowed to take race into consideration or as a criteria for admitted students. The university had a system in place where it assessed the value of a student and gave them points based on their accomplishments before application. Now, in order to be accepted into the university, an applicant needed to have a minimum of 100 points under their system. Now, an example would be a student with a perfect SAT score was awarded 12 points. But people or minority students were automatically given 20 points based on race alone. Now, which leads to my secondary claim, is that it may lower the performance of some universities. In both cases that I mentioned, the applicants were more qualified than other students and scored more or higher than other students, but were denied admission based solely on their race. Had they been considered a minority student, they would have had a much better chance of being admitted. For example, Alan Back would have been admitted to the university had he been accepted under the special admissions program. And my third claim is that there are other ways to help minorities without discrimination. Now, in 1996, California passed Proposition 209 banning all affirmative action programs in the state. Even after the passing of Proposition 209 in California, the percentage rate of underrepresented students admitted were met and even surpassed. In the year 1994, the year with the highest percentage before Prop 209 was put into effect, 21% of UC freshman class consisted of underrepresented students. Now, in 2009, the percentage of underrepresented students admitted to the UC system was 26.9%. Also, according to www.universityofcalifornia.edu, which is the official UC website, by 2003, the graduation rates for minorities had risen from 74.8% up from 69.1% back in 1994. So this actually shows that even without these programs present, there was forms of improvement, improved performance. Now, what this shows is that underrepresented students can succeed even without strict or extreme systems put into place. For example, reaching out to middle schools or high schools where they have a high percentage of underrepresented students, or making scholarships or grants more accessible to them. My proposition was that race and gender should not be criteria for hiring in the United States because it promotes reverse discrimination.
All right, the proposition is phrased as a policy claim, and it's also got a negative phrasing in it, so that's awkward. The secondary claims, on the other hand, they are clearly labeled and phrased as claims of fact, and they hit our formatting pretty well. You did okay signposting on those points. It turns out that there are 3 of them. The third one is actually a refutation or rebuttal argument because it doesn't directly apply to the issue of harm occurring because of affirmative action, but rather it denies an argument that some harm would occur if we got rid of affirmative action. It's the one where I think you have the strongest evidence. The problem with the first 2 arguments is that the evidence that you provide basically shows that the issue that you're talking about is moot. The Bakke decisions from 1978, and the court ruled that the quota systems were not allowable. That was the decision of the court in that particular situation. And then in the Michigan case in 2000, you say in the very quote that the court eliminated the special scoring that they gave for ethnicity and said that that's not appropriate. So in essence, you're making an argument about what was true as opposed to what is true, and I'm not sure that anybody is disputing what was true anymore. Now the question is, do we still have these kinds of problems? Like I said, on the third point, I thought you had a clearer argument that said maybe that there's a good argument to be made that says affirmative action is less necessary these days, or stronger affirmative action is less required because society is becoming more integrated or more effective at dealing with these things without these kinds of special programs. That might be a stronger way to go on this particular point. All right, I'm going to stop us here.